Most kids spend their early years riding bikes and watching cartoons. Jonathan Brandis spent his becoming a professional. By the time he was 2 years old, he was already a working model, landing a print campaign for Busta Brown shoes. By 4, he was in television commercials. By 6, he had a recurring role on the soap opera One Life to Live, with a naturalness that made adult casting directors do a double take. His parents recognized something magnetic in their boy and bet everything on it, relocating the family from Connecticut to Los Angeles when Jonathan was just 9. Guest appearances on The Wonder Years, Full House, and Murder, She Wrote followed quickly. He wasn't just landing roles, he was leaving impressions. What set Brandis apart wasn't his looks alone. He had an emotional depth genuinely rare for a child actor, and soon the right opportunity would prove it to the entire world. When casting began for the NeverEnding Story II, over 600 young actors competed for the lead. Brandis was 13, already hungry for something bigger, and walked out with the role of Bastian Bucks. Director George T. Miller, anxious about child labor laws slowing production, made a controversial call: scenes rehearsed once only, with up to 3 cameras rolling simultaneously. For most kids, paralyzing. For Brandis, a masterclass. That same year, he delivered what he later called the hardest role of his career: young, stuttering Bill Denbrough in Stephen King's It. Getting the stutter authentic was meticulous work, and audiences responded. 2 major performances in a single year. The industry watched closely. They didn't have to wait long. In 1993, everything detonated. Brandis landed the role of teenage genius Lucas Wolenzak on NBC's Spielberg-produced SeaQuest DSV. He was 17 and doubled up his high school courses to finish early so he could commit fully. That work ethic defined him. SeaQuest became a smash hit, and Brandis became its beating heart. Tiger Beat voted him the #1 dreamboat in the country. Fan letters arrived at roughly 4,000 per week. Young women gathered outside the studio in such numbers that 3 security guards were hired specifically to escort him off set each day. Co-star Roy Scheider, a veteran who'd already starred in Jaws, observed that Brandis handled the chaos better than most adults would, taking the attention with a grain of salt. With one exception Scheider admitted to with a grin, other than using it to get girls. In a 1996 interview, Brandis confessed he'd never anticipated any of it. He just hoped to keep working. Teen Idol was never the plan. At the height of his SeaQuest fame, Brandis met Tatiana Ali from The Fresh Prince at a Halloween party. He was 17, she was 14. There was chemistry, but Ali played it carefully. She later described him as older and more experienced, and the dynamic as uncomfortable. Smart. 2 years later, they officially started dating, and Hollywood immediately packaged them as a power couple. But fame at that level creates its own friction, and Brandis admitted in People that the pressure of being a celebrity couple was relentless. Behind the scenes, SeaQuest was quietly unraveling. NBC relocated the entire production from LA to Orlando, cast members quit over the tension, and the show kept getting reformatted in ways that drove both cast and audience away. Lead actor Roy Scheider eventually fought to be released from his contract. Season 3 was a full-blown crisis. Then, NBC canceled it mid-season without warning. The most stable thing in Brandis's professional life was gone. Brandis was 20 when SeaQuest ended. He picked himself up, kept working, and built a steady run of film roles through the late 90s, Outside Providence and Ride with the Devil among them. He wasn't the same level of famous, but he was working, and that was everything to him. Then the blows started landing in succession. A completed film called Bad Girls from Valley High couldn't find a distributor and vanished into limbo. In 2001, his 6-year relationship with Tatiana Ali ended quietly. Then came the deepest wound. A role in Heart's War alongside Bruce Willis and a rising Colin Farrell looked like the relaunch he needed. When the final cut arrived, his scenes had been stripped to almost nothing. He ended up in a deleted scene. But someone who once commanded 4,000 fan letters a week, the fall felt vertical. Those closest to him noted that the heavy drinking started around this time, and the depression that had likely been building for years began showing from the outside. Brandis refused to quit. In 2003, he won a role in the pilot 111 Gramercy Park alongside Tippi Hedren and Jaleel White, a A real ensemble, a solid premise, a genuine shot at a new beginning. But co-star White later described something that haunted him. Brandis was visibly consumed by anxiety about whether the show would be picked up, asking White repeatedly about their prospects in a way White said he'd never encountered with another actor. The network passed, the pilot never aired. Yet even then, Brandis was delivering brilliant work. Cast as a CIA operative opposite Harvey Keitel in Puerto Vallarta Squeeze, he was exceptional on set. Keitel told producer Robert Katz on multiple occasions, unprompted, that this kid was something special. In the editing room, people were saying he was going to have a major career. Brandis had heard versions of that before. Just before midnight on November 11th, a friend arrived at Brandis's Los Angeles apartment and found him in the hallway. Paramedics rushed him to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. He was pronounced dead the following afternoon at 2:45 p.m. He was 27. No note was left behind. Friends confirmed he had been speaking about his struggle with his outlook on life in the weeks before, and that the drinking had been escalating. Tatiana Ali, when she eventually spoke, cut straight to what she believed drove him to that point, asking a question that still lands hard. "When you've spent years on magazine covers and that suddenly stops," she said, "what becomes your identity?" Producer Robert Katz said his first reaction to the news was simply, "No, wrong person." Jaleel White said he sat staring at his screen with tears on his face, and Soleil Fry admitted she carried guilt for not truly hearing what he had been trying to tell people. In 2021, Greg Brandis finally spoke at length about his son. What he said reframed everything. He was clear that Hollywood wasn't to blame. The culprit, he believed, was something undiagnosed and internal. Looking back, he saw signs of manic depression in Jonathan's 20s and believed bipolar disorder played a major role in everything that followed. That same year, Soleil Fry's documentary Kid 90 brought Brandis back to life on screen through her archive of 90s home video footage. His memory got a warm, human revival. But Greg Brandis wasn't interested in nostalgia alone. He said he still talks to his son daily and feels like Jonathan is looking down on him. Then he said something that was less about grief and more about purpose. He hoped that anyone reading Jonathan's story who was struggling would go and get help.